Hey guys, okay, so we are on to our last section, trigonometry and area, 10.5. Today in class we talked a lot about the apothem, so I'm just going to kind of review and give a couple more examples of that as far as trig ratios go. So finding the apothem using trig ratios. Don't forget so, ka, and toa. Those are your trig ratios, okay? And right here, this says sine of theta, which just means we're talking about any general angle out there, okay? Don't let this sign freak you out because it's not specific as to what angle we're going to need to solve for. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine of theta is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. Don't forget that is all in reference to whatever angle they tell you. You've got to identify your opposite, you've got to identify your adjacent, and you've got to identify your hypotenuse. Okay, so the formula that hopefully we're pretty familiar with now is the apothem times your perimeter divided by 2. Okay, for a regular polygon. And don't forget that means that all the sides are equal. All the sides are the same measure. Okay, and let's look at one of those problems for a minute. Excuse me. All right. Well, this problem says, if I can zoom in a little, says find the area of a regular pentagon, right, 5 sides, and regular, all sides are equal, with the side length of 6. All right, so what I did is I drew a pentagon that is a little obscure, and I labeled all the sides 6. Okay, so in order to find the perimeter, I took 6 and I multiplied it by 5, and that's where I got the 30. Okay, and then keep in mind that you label the center of your circle, or the center of your figure, and around it is 360 degrees. Then in order to find each of these little triangles that I've made, connecting to each of the vertices, I divide it by the number of sides. So 360 divided by 5, and that gives me 72. All right, so each of these triangles right here is 72 degrees. And then in order to find my apothem, I have to drop a line from that center perpendicular to the side of the figure. All right? So that means instead of being 72 now, that angle's split in half. So 72 divided by 2 is 36. So now I have this right triangle, and this angle right here, which I went ahead and wrote, is 36 degrees. I know this is my right angle, and I want to figure out what in the world this side is right here, which I'm going to call my apothem eventually when I solve for it. So based off of this angle, and if you guys want, you can always put your googly eyes on it so that you can see where we're looking. This would be my opposite, and this would be my adjacent. So with opposite and adjacent, that meets the criteria of tangent. Remember, tangent of theta is your opposite over your adjacent. And theta in this case, the angle we're talking about, is 36 degrees. So I would say tangent 36 equals 3, my opposite over my adjacent, which is going to be my apothem when I find it. I'll multiply a by both sides, and then I have to get a alone, so I do divide by tangent 36, and I divide by tangent 36, and I end up with a equals 3 over tangent 36, which is approximately 4.13. Okay, so now I know my apothem, and I know my perimeter. All right, apothem and perimeter. I'm going to multiply the two by each other, 30 times 4.13, and divide by 2. And yay, hooray, I know my area is 61.95. Okay, so that's trig ratios. I have more examples that we'll probably go over in class. Now I want to talk about finding the area of a triangle when you're given a side, an angle, and a side. All right, so let's say that I know this side B. All right, and I know this side C. And I actually know this angle A. You would take the two sides, B times C, and you would multiply them together, and then multiply them by the sine of whatever angle they gave you, and divide it by 2. So let's look here at this example. Here I'm given a side, an angle, and a side. It must be the included angle. So I'm going to take the side length times the other side length, and then multiply it by the sine of the included angle, dividing it by 2. So 12 times 21 times sine of 48 divided by 2, 93.44 units squared. And that's about it for today's notes. The Apothem, hopefully we're understanding after the video and class, and we'll probably do a couple more examples tomorrow or Monday. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Bye.